Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone is safe and taking care during these uncertain times. My name is Varun Gaba from the SCAT India show, organized by Nürnberg Messe India, and I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you attending our webinar today on the role of ISPs and cloud providers in the pandemic and the developments in the industry. Let me start by thanking our partner for the webinar, DE-CIX India, for their support in putting this together. We would like to kick things off with a short message from the Regional Director of Middle East and South Asia for DE-CIX, Mr. Marco Brandstatter. Can we have the video, please?
Hello, on behalf of DE-CIX International, I want to welcome you to this virtual event, which is hosted by DE-CIX India. DE-CIX is famous for providing internet exchanges now since 25 years all over the globe. We provide internet exchanges from the very west from America to the far east in Asia in 23 markets worldwide, and we're very proud to have such a nice footprint in India with 4 internet exchanges: Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai and Calcutta. And we just recently launched our award-winning cloud platform to bring the quality which we are used all over the planet, from cloud, from peering, into the India market as well. Especially in these recent weeks, in this crisis which we are all facing, it is very important to have a stable and good internet, and this is what we stand for. And so I'm happy we could take all these investments. We are taking further investments in India. I'm happy about the passion of the team which we have, and we make the internet better for you. And so welcome.
Right to it and introduce our speakers for today, starting with Mr. Sanjay Liman, Vice President, Product and Services Head, Internet Bandwidth and ISP Operations at entity Netmagic. Mr. Liman brings a unique combination of technology and finance knowledge and experience to his 20+ years experience at Netmagic, taking the company from strength to strength with some innovative solutions and automations. Joining him, we have Mr. Mehul Sampat, AVP Product Marketing, One OTT. Mr. Sampat comes with over 20 years of experience in the telecom ISP vertical with cross-functional experience in technology, product management roles, playing a vital role in defining a differentiated offering to OIL customers. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Ms. Sushma Mishra, General Manager, Network Planning and Broadband and IT, BSNL, who was to be a part on the panel, will not be joining us today. Moderating the session for us today is Mr. Sudhir Kunder, Senior VP National Head Sales at DE-CIX India, a skilled professional with 26 years of rich and extensive experience. Mr. Kunder in his current role covers the entire gamut of operations from customer lifecycle management, pre and post sales, ops enablement, and overall health of the business, and is an integral part of the robust growth of DE-CIX India. Mr. Kunder, it would be great if we could start off with a few words for DE-CIX India. Before I hand over to Mr. Kunder, just one note to all our attendees. We will have a Q&A session at the end. So please send in all your questions in the Q&A tab. Mr. Kunder, the screen is all yours.
Thanks a lot, Varun, and thanks, Marco, for the wonderful wishes that you sent from Germany. Firstly, let me begin with thanking both Sanjay and Mehul for having pulled out time from their enterprise and the general customers in general. So what Mark said was so very pertinent in today's times that there wouldn't have been an apt time for us to actually kick off a webinar like this while you have webinars happening, and some people say there's been an overdose of webinar happening actually. But having said that, quickly, as you can see on your screen, we are the world's leading and one of the largest IX operator on a neutral platform. And we recently celebrated 25 years of our formation with 2,000 odd ASNs across the globe, 23 odd interconnection sites with 500 peering points and 100+ countries. What is more important, look at the colossal amount of data. 59 TB of connected capacity is what we have on board with us. So Having said that, on global platform, let me quickly jump on to a very passionate and robust team that brings along a lot of experience in this business. We've been able to do some good for the company as well as for our customers as well, you know. So we have about 220 plus odd customers connected on our site. All major CDN operators today are with us on a 100G plus platform, and I'll tell you a little bit more as we now jump onto this Q&A session. And the first ball being bowled is to both of the gentlemen, saying that how has your organization handled this COVID-19 scenario, which was unforeseen? We were not prepared for it, and neither were you. How did it impact your business, and how did you guys face it as an organization? So, Mehul, would you want to take it first?
Yeah, thanks, Sudhir. Yeah, COVID was unexpected, though. I mean, the signs were there in January, but it kind of hit really hard. And the first challenge that we faced was, how to move staff. We are in a service industry where we have our engineers who manage the knock, who do the service delivery, who attend the service complaints, assurance complaints, and with the restriction of 10% of staff allowed. So the first challenge was how to move the staff about, and so there was a lot of activity in the first week to get the required passes, e-passes, and get the government portals submissions done for these people. Also, we had to arrange vehicles as all the vehicles were off road. So hiring vehicles and getting the drivers also exempted from the lockdown was a big challenge. Fortunately, we were able to do that. However, one thing that hit us also was our contact center was also hit. Since it was based in Mumbai, it was also impacted by the lockdown. The major challenge was how to do our existing service assurance staff to handling the call center and allow them to work from home. So it took a while, but in 4 or 5 days, I think the setup was done beautifully by the team, and we are back to servicing the calls from home. Agents were working from home, albeit at a lower capacity, but it was not a complete outage. So yeah, I think COVID did teach us how to work remotely and probably accelerated the process. It was already in process, but it became more faster. Sanjay?
Yeah, so first of all, let me greet you all. I'm proud to use the method that India has, which is now adopted by India. So namaste, everybody. And yeah, so even before the lockdown, by the way, while DE-CIX is celebrating 25 years, if everyone noticed, there are 100 days into the lockdown. Okay, yesterday we completed 100 days. So while the lockdown started on 25th, we already had guidelines from the Tokyo headquarters to ensure the work from home culture a week before itself. So from 13th itself, we were geared up to work from home. The only issue happened was to arrange the desktops and the laptops to all the required employees, I would say. That was about 1 week, and then of course the safety is the topmost priority. So that was one challenge, and again, as Mehul also said, about a week and a half, and then once it settled in, then it just became it takes a new normal. Now suddenly in our session also it was announced that not just now, in going forward, work from home would be a new norm. Like we saw TCS and others declaring that only 25% workers will be working from office and all that thing. So yeah, about 1.5 weeks, and thereafter it was fine. From operational side, from customer serving, I think we have a design which definitely helped us with our bursable bandwidth and all. We could do on the fly augmentation for a lot of people and stuff like that. So yeah, from our company perspective, it just took about 1.5 weeks to adjust. Now it's a new normal. Over to you, Sudhir.
Yeah, Sudhir, so how did DE-CIX handle this, impact of COVID on your business and your operations?
Yeah. So, like both of you all said, nobody was prepared for this. But as they say, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit. What defines you is how you get up and start again. And that's what we were able to do. We quickly regrouped. We put all our collective might together, and we were able to first look at employee security, because people matter the most. And once you take care of that, all other things definitely fall in line. And we were able to get some critical things done, which were planned, but I wouldn't say coincidental, but rather providential, that we were able to get our network upgrade done in the nth hour. And we would like to thank all the data centers, including Sanjay's data center as well, who were magnanimous enough to allow us to do things during a challenging time. And not only that, but our tech support, our customer acquisition engine went full blast ahead, all 4 cylinders firing. And we've been able to clock some decent numbers without putting people's security and safety at risk. Some staggering numbers, which I would later on come to when we speak. But more or less, we were able to handle both the sides in terms of upgrades used to take 1 week, 10 days, so on and so forth. And here we were required to do things within 48 hours and so on and so forth. And we fortunately were able to do that. Today, by virtue of the network upgradation, which was a strategic investment being made at that point of time, we have one of the most robust networks that any IX would have, with about 200 gigs of traffic flowing between one DC to another. As a result of which, monsoon, no monsoon, Bombay's, Mumbai's vagaries of fiber cuts fortunately hasn't affected us. And I'm sure our customers are more happy than what they set out to be before we did this. And having said that, let me tell you a small trivia. The world watches 700,000 hours of Netflix and sends in about 200 million mails. People would be wondering, where is this data that gets? A couple of weeks back, where I said that interconnection platforms like ours actually live in data centers. So what's your take on that, Sanjay? And I would like you to throw some light on it. And, how do you look at us, and whether, we are symbiotic? Your views on it.
Yeah, thanks. Definitely symbiotic, because it is an ecosystem where it goes hand in hand. For example, nowadays, the trend is like we are getting customer queries in that earlier, being a so-called neutral, carrier neutral data center, they would expect everybody to be there. But now they're asking about the presence of the exchange. That's not just a nice to have feature, that's probably a key decision-making criteria to decide their co-location center. So they are asking for all the exchanges, including our own government exchange as well. But that goes hand in hand. They definitely want something like an exchange, which is the interconnection platform, to be present where they want to co-locate. Not just that, I think DE-CIX has proved already the ecosystem of the internet side, right? The server side, the content side, and the server side and the client side. The marriage that happens very nicely. They've proven they're probably the #1 exchange also in the world. So yeah, it is definitely symbiotic. And also, we being ISP, that goes further into a synergy. For example, we also are we have ISP license. We want to sell to customers, not only the hosted customers, but also the other maybe tier 2 ISPs, and that definitely helps, because DE-CIX takes care of offloading the peering part that brings down to a very minimal level of pure internet, which we can easily fulfill with our capacity. It's definitely
Mehul, yeah, thank you. Mehul, your take on it?
Yeah, so I would say that before the COVID scenario, utilization was a bit asymmetric. At home, you had a little less traffic, and office traffic was more. Post-COVID, there is a change. So you would have experienced, maybe slowness in your internet less frequently pre-COVID as after post-COVID. Now that's because the usage habits have changed, and if you look in the home, I mean, it's not only that you're using it for work; you're also using it for schools. Family members also using it to do their yoga sessions, maybe, or gym sessions, and everything is working out from home. So what your usage would have very easily increased per day at least 10x. Number of GBs that you are consuming, like I don't know, one Zoom call I read somewhere on high definition takes about 2 GB per hour if you're doing a group call, and we do such 4 such call or 5 such calls in a day with the team. So it has
Incidentally, Zoom was doing about 300 million Zoom meetings a day in April.
yes. So not only office meetings, schools have gone online on Zoom, and similarly you have Microsoft Teams, you have Google Meet, you have other tools which are being utilized more. I mean, and of course OTT is always there. The Netflix and Amazon's applications are always there. But we have seen a good amount of traffic going up because of this traffic shifting from office to home. And so has gaming, which is, I should not miss that. Gaming is one big application which is people have taken to, and I think we were lucky to get some peering done through you for, for PUBG.
So since you brought it up, so let me tell you that that was a period when we saw some phenomenal numbers happening. Even at Germany, we hit 9.1 terabytes of traffic, and people were saying that, oh my God, how are these guys able to do it? And at that point of time, we were ready for more, dil mange more kind of, and we already had capacities of 25 TBs built and ready. And similar thing we noticed here in India. Closer home, what happened is we were trending in the range of about 700-800, and then suddenly we saw, I mean, dil mein tasalli ho gayi types ke, 1 TB is what you touched. So currently we hover between say 850 to 1 from a time to time basis. And like you said, segments where we see a lot of action happening, where definitely OTT, gaming, CDN, hosting, and ISP from our perspective. So for us, the staggering numbers on an OTT platform were a 249% spike, and as compared to that, gaming again was overshooting it, and 284% is what we were able to clock and run and monitor accordingly. CDN was by 67%, ISP went by 70%, and hosting about 75%. So as I would want to tell you, these are the ones that actually took the cake, and the availability of network at high availability at that point of time really was a game changer for us. And we were at the cusp of launching something big. So while I said this up, one of the things that I was asked when somebody told me, Ki, why is it that you uh, wrote that you guys live in a data center? How does it make sense? So it was pretty sensible, because that's the only thing that somebody who understands this business would see. Data centers are the warehouses of the digital economy today. They provide a home not only for the data itself, but also for the platforms and applications, which would really be ubiquitous in today's time and age. As a result of which, interconnect would typically be helping the digital ecosystem there, So that was my thought, which came immediately, and I thought that, let me put it up. So having said that, let me quickly jump to Mehul, wherein, I would ask you what, according to you and your observation, and were they the same that we mentioned right now, or did you have a shift when COVID happened?
Sorry, Sudhir, I lost you in between.
Yeah, the bandwidth guzzler, typically, which were the top 5 bandwidth hungry applications in India typically? This is for the participants to know. I mean, from our point, we would obviously know, but
Yeah.
have you seen a shift from what it was earlier and when COVID happened? Is there been a
Yeah. So overall, we have seen about 40% growth in the bandwidth consumption, um, what it was in say January. So majorly the traffic we have seen has grown linearly. I mean, we have had to increase our ILL traffic as well as the peering and the caching capacities where the cache outs were much higher. Uh, yes, Google was on a high. Google was higher, probably because of it's being happening. We're seeing more traffic on Google, Amazon, Netflix serve out was very high as well. So yes, OTT collaboration apps, and also I would say a lot of calls or gatherings which are happening on WhatsApp, maybe WhatsApp calling, video calling was on the higher side. We did see that these kind of traffic were on the higher side. Purely from a customer feedback perspective, we were seeing gaming was pretty much on top. So gamers, they are sensitive to lag. So once they start playing a game, and if they start getting lags, you start getting uh, you know calls and and I would say service requests, right? What to say it. So we know that the gaming traffic is also on the higher side, and probably these are the applications that people have adapted to in the absence of any entertainment, which they would normally have if the lockdown was not there, and they would do things more freely. So yeah, so these are the same applications that we spoke about.
perfect? So, having said that, Sanjay, over to you. How do you see cloud adoption today in India, and what has COVID done to that part of business? Because there was a lot of action happening around cloud any which ways, and has COVID made any changes to it? And I would want you to give some insights, and then Mehul, after you've done.
Yeah, sure. So yes, definitely. As you said, even prior to COVID, there was action seen in cloud platforms, especially the multi-cloud scenario, right? We all know there are three major public cloud providers. Each has its own advantage. So people want to leverage the best of the best and take each cloud for its USP. And so there are solutions being offered now for multi-cloud. So in a single port, you could take multiple cloud environments and you could use your workloads accordingly. So that is something seeing traction. In fact, COVID has now just helped him, expedite those scenarios. For example, other thing we see is now a lot of people, whatever small they had on-prem, even that they want to, outsource to a DC, and of course from DC to the cloud. So how it goes is they don't want to put everything on cloud for whatever reason, mainly the compliance reason where they want to keep something on-prem. So the best strategy is to keep that on-prem in a DC and then burst into the cloud via this hybrid, cloud connects, and then the solution something like this, is a multi-cloud that just helps to get this strategy in place. So definitely, COVID has helped. I see a lot of such thing. I mean, I can't name, but some incident happened in one of our customers, so they just didn't have option, but to overnight shift everything to data.
So I guess it's no longer a luxury or something which comes as a things to consider. It's more become like a necessity as of now, isn't it?
Yeah, as I said, even the same for the interconnection platform. But it's not a nice to have or it is a decision making criteria in the checklist that do you have the presence of a cloud and a multi-cloud environment and a thing.
Correct. Mehul?
Yeah. So as an organization, we had already, for collaboration and all our office work, we had already, been on the cloud for last 3 years. So we were using Google and Google Suite. So there was no question of not having continuity. Only for our ISP knock and operations, which are run out of space, and we had to have some kind of remote access made enable to them so that it could be securely accessed. other than that, everything we have our BSS, OSS, everything is, I would say a hybrid model. So, it's not dependent on a person being there.
Yeah.
Physical presence is not required.
Perfect. Actually, I think cloud enables both users and enterprises, to run software without installing them. It gives them redundancy, stability, security, and to put all of them together, there is a cost benefit angle as well. It would be, very mathematical decision to make for people not to go on-prem as of now because of the kind of huge capexes that get invested. So I personally have been speaking to a lot of people in the decision-making chain because we are in the midst of launching our enterprise sales arm kind of to manage the cloud business, and as a result of which we understand that a lot of people have gone back to the drawing boards and some disproportionate amount of IT enabled spends rather than the earlier ends, spends that they were planning in. So generally, if you see from a trivia info point of view, we spend about 1.6% of our particular, budgets, as compared to IT spending typically would be 1.6% of our GDP as compared to about 3% globally. Percent global levels there we are not too far away is at 8%, but then when you talk about the US and the UK, you're still far away because it's at about 12% as of today. So there is both a pro and con in what people were doing, and work from office is going to be a mixed hybrid model. I don't see any other option, but that's the way to go. And we are at the cusp of a cloud implosion is what I feel personally. And typically, I would say IT spends, if you see from a $1.6 billion, that is the kind of monies that they are saying that should be the ramp up happening. 1.6 from $1.6 billion to $4.2 billion is the kind of spike that you're going to be seeing in the next 36 months. So what generally we would have seen possibly in the next 5 to 7 years, we might see in the next 2 years. The acceleration is coming very fast. It's hit us, but I think the India Inc. typically is been able to respond to it well, the way in which we've been trying to buckle up and get a hybrid model of working from home happen. So having said that, we'll move to the next interesting question again, easy and tough both. So a Netflix engineer, said that last mile connections for broadband, sticky one, for wired broadband was not good enough. And that is why they justified going and asking for a lower bit rate, and here in India as well, we went from a high definition to a standard definition. And at least in the Europe, in the EU, they were able to save about 25% consumption of bandwidth. So what are your individual takes on this? What do you feel about this? First Sanjay and then Mehul.
Yeah. So I think that is right in the sense, see, the server side is never an issue. I'm sure Netflix of the world have enough capacity with them to serve the end users. It is always the last mile. I remember the quote from Amit D'Souza, who was an old timer in Netmagic. There is a last mile is always the challenge. And you would see, there was this trading company, and the van would come with that top, small satellite dish, and just look at it. They can't. There is no way it can just go. They have to come here, and they arrange this last mile to go live. So yeah, from that angle, in India, the last mile is not that still even today. That is the challenge. But as I said, the server side, from our side, we also have a bustable solution. So for us, it was not a challenge. But last mile network in India is still, maybe in Mumbai it may be better, but not in all parts of India. And maybe Mehul can add more to this.
Yeah.
So wired connectivity, I mean, we are at a fraction of, if internet in India is to be defined, it is defined by mobile internet as of now,
Very true. Very
right?
true.
And that's the way it was, designed so that they could overcome the challenges of wired rollout, which was taking time. So, to get people onboarded onto the internet highway, mobile was the preferred choice. However, mobile comes with its own limitation in terms of spectrum and the number of users can do that. Wired, wherever present, was mostly on a copper plant. It was on DSL, so it is limited by distance. Still, I would say 70 to 60 to 70%, 70% would be DSL as of now, and they all have asymmetric speeds. If I were to think of an application which is a client-to-client or peer-to-peer application, asymmetric bandwidths generally don't are not good for those kind of application. It's only in the recent times that people have started deploying LAN or fiber to the home, where the speeds are much higher, but that number is still small as compared to the overall. So, I mean, the wired, if you take MTNL and BSNL together, they would have probably about 70% of the wired broadband market, and they are on DSL. So, yes, Netflix would be right in that say that they would like to give a better experience. And if somebody takes a high bandwidth and starts experiencing bad, yeah, they would want to control it through the backend, which would be a fair statement. But now the things are changing, and people are even all the last mile ISPs, last mile service providers are upgrading their infra. So that would change. I would say now it's no longer that you will probably not need to worry about the bandwidth in the last mile.
So the off-on kind of a thing used to happen when there used to be a lot of pure internet bandwidth going through. And in one of my earlier stints, we had named those guys as bandwidth guzzlers. They would put in movies to download, and by the time they would get up in the morning, they would have 3 movies ready for the next day. So now with content being freely available, and obviously people like us who've been earnestly serving customers from an ISP perspective, where not only are they getting content from a local provisioning and not spending money on the pure bandwidth, we also have enough and more capacity for them any which way is available. But I think generally from a availability point of view, as you rightly said, once you move out of the metros, this is where the actual game begins, and that is where government's proposal as of now, I should say, their proposal spending crores of rupees on ROWs and stuff like that would then be able to invest more wisely and in a manner in which we'll see a lot of traction coming through, because we've seen recently also a lot of our customers are not only from the metros but also from the hinterland, and we would be surprised how much efforts that they take, and that is why we've been able to have network relationships happening with a lot of network service providers, because unless and until we are able to reach where the operator works, we would not be able to grow the business. So that has been taken care of from our side. And while we go into an enablement mode with them, we ensure that we give them some opinions and views on how they will be able to benefit more from having Mehul, at least in the metros, that's not a problem. People are up to date as far as technology adoption is concerned or balancing things out are concerned.
Yeah, also, probably there's one thing that broadband is a shared media. So, home broadband is a shared connectivity. And as you also discussed that, the usage in the home has increased and the number of applications and the devices and the users have gone up. Yes, it would be prudent, on the part of the OTT guys to control the bit rate, because then we would not be able to do office work properly on the home broadband connection, or we would need to go in for an upgrade.
Yeah, but see, point remains that data is the fuel for growth of internet. And if you are going to be bringing down data consumption, then how are you going to be, rather looking at the solution, we are looking at.
No. So what we are saying is that there is a solution which is already being rolled out, and now all the new deployments which are happening are either on Ethernet or Metro Ethernet or a fiber interface GPON, EPON.
Yeah,
So those will take care, and
sure.
I would assure you that any customer who's on a fiber to the home or a GPON
Yeah,
would,
absolutely.
would not need any kind of any such thing to be done by any OTT provider, because these last miles are designed to cater to huge traffic. Like GPON can take concurrent 40 Mbps per user if there are per port on a port. So there's no limitation.
So it would be fair to say that networks are getting geared to a huge because as we see today, the surge of demand is still continuing because we monitor our traffic on a weekly basis, and for some large players we do it on a 48-hour kind of basis, and we see uh, that the surge is already on. So by what I'm trying to understand by what you said is that uh, the ISP community specifically is very much capable today of handling the surge of data coming in. And in our own small bit, what we've also contributed to it is, as I said some time back, by having an extremely robust and redundant network in times like this where you can't afford to have network losses, and coupled it with huge capacities being available. I mean, not wanting to take names, but all these major multiple 100 gig ports available. So capacity from both sides is not a constraint, and the go-to market is also pretty well defined. So it's a pretty decent combination for serving the customers well, because ultimately customer delight is what will help us build the kind of hockey stick that we intend to make. So having said that, Mehul, what is it that you foresee uh, as bottlenecks, if I can say, beyond the current situations that we've seen? Have you seen any bottlenecks that we face in getting the network infra more robust per se? From a general, I mean, not only from your organization, because you have always been two steps ahead, but otherwise from an observer's point of view, because a lot of our participants would be then able to understand things better and work, on those corrections.
Yeah, so on in the urban side or the metro side, probably ROW is still an issue, and in fact, in getting inside building also sometimes can be an issue. If you want to wire up a new building, it can take time, and permissions can take some amount of time. We are not like wireless. We can't just go into any building and offer our service. We
Yeah.
need to have the wire up to the shaft or up to the floor. So we may be able to service in urban areas. In the tier 2 or tier 3 markets, probably the challenges would be slightly different. It's the challenge would be probably how we can get a good NLD there, connectivity, robust serviceable NLD there. So that sometimes become a pain because operator who's helping us connect the users there in the tier 2 or tier 3 cities would need a reliable connectivity. Sometimes we can get it, sometimes feasibility is not there, so we may not be able to reach out to those locations. So yeah, and somebody mentioned about national digital policy as well. So I think the government is doing something around that, and the BharatNet is working aggressively to make sure that there is a good connectivity available, so that if you want to open up emerging markets or new markets, so as to say, uh, any ISP is in a position to do so.
So Varun or Geeta, can I ask you to run the first poll where we say, is your home broadband up to the mark, or what do participants feel about what we are speaking? Because I think it will only be relevant when we get live feedback from them, so that we make it more meaningful. Okay, so here we go. I think we have made substantial improvements, and that's a very heartening thing to see. Yeah, and when folks are happy, business is rolling in. So the dots are matching. So now, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, this was specifically to Sanjay. How do you see the future of internet ecosystem in India and the overall impact currently, since we have both the things happening, work from home and the enterprises wanting to kick back again to business mode? Uh, how are you seeing this happening now?
First, to answer your internet ecosystem, and that's a very, very passionate subject for me. I'll tell you something. In early days, when in 2005, when we in our data center we were having these customers from all sorts of travel, media, sports, and at that time, there used to be like a 5, 10 meg kind of a customer. At the moment, they would grow to let's say 70, 80 Mbps. Somebody like Akamai CDN would come and take away. They said, okay, that made sense. They would offload almost 80% of their traffic, and now origin traffic is only going to be 10 to 20%. And I used to like, this is not happening. The customers are growing, and suddenly they are taking it away. I would tell my MD, Sharad, this is not happening. They said, don't worry. He's being interviewed, he knew what's happening. They said, just let it happen. The growth is going to be such a exponential that even after that offload, the origin traffic itself will grow to the level that you are expecting right now. And trust me, within the next 2 years, it did happen. And then he said, imagine if all the traffic you would have to handle, were you geared up to handle that? I said, yeah, that makes sense. So what I'm trying to tell is what CDN did to origin traffic in data center, I think Exchange is doing to the internet traffic, right? All these ISPs take this internet. Today, peering exchange is taking almost 70 to 80%, sometimes even 90% traffic.
Correct.
Right? And that's the ecosystem, right? Even they would have probably not been able to handle the entire, like you mentioned the earlier example of on and off, right? Those were the days, right? So that's the ecosystem, right? That takes offloads all this so-called OTTs and social media, and it makes sense. So that's about internet ecosystem. So it's that's how it works. About working from home, definitely. So just to answer one quick thing, like people mention almost 81% mentioned they have adequate, but yet there are cases where they saw some issues happening around their office. Even Mehul mentioned that if they were not to reduce the bit rate, we would have. So we found one interesting root cause to say that people had not expected this COVID to get everyone into lockdown and be at home. So in a normal scenario, when everybody is in the office, probably 10% would be working from outside office. Could be home, could be remote hotel or airport or something like that, and they would connect as per the company policy via VPN, right? But post-COVID, everybody is now using as per their policy through the VPN. So what is happening is, imagine a company having their session, where it is addressed to all employees. 1,000 employees may be having their home broadband 10 Mbps at each, and they're only using 1 Mbps. But if that all aggregates to companies' VPN, they don't have 1G capacity, right? And that becomes a bottleneck. So it became an issue for one of our customers, and then started. Fortunately, our SOC had already acted that, and there was a policy in place to not connect via this thing, so that you don't get into such a scenario. And one of our customers, ISP customers, also said that while these people are working from home, their bill is still, enterprises are still having the bill. They said, we are not using. So you are not using, but your office infrastructure is still being used by your employees at home. So
Absolutely.
That is what.
That's a sticky one, actually.
Yeah. So
Mehul?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Mehul.
No, I agree with you what you said, and that's where people kind of forget that capacity is not always at the last mile. Sometimes it is also at the aggregation point where your traffic aggregates in the office, and well-known that your server in this case, maybe where you're connecting has an interface limit or a bandwidth limit, and that needs to increase with the increase in the last mile traffic. If it is going from 10% to 70%, then you need to proportionately increase that core side or distribution side bandwidth as well.
Absolutely.
Something that nobody had actually predicted, something this kind of thing would happen. But now that it's happened, people are taking care from that side as well.
So also, from, I mean, on this 2 cents from my side would be how, how are we looking at ourselves working, maintaining highest amounts of efficiencies. There is work from home, but there are no work from home hours. So we are going to be working more. So efficiencies are expected to be more, and we are delivering more efficiencies. As a result of which, what is typically happening is you have to have a balance of efficiencies on your entertainment, all those angles also, because today you have 2 3 TVs in your place. Plus you can't tell people don't do this, don't do that, and then you have your office work where again there is some kind of an infra which you need to reach out to, and that's where probably we come into the play with a new offering that Marco said, where we come out with a cloud exchange along with an internet exchange, which allows from it's a happy thing at both the ends. The consumers are happy because they have access to this. The ISPs are happy because it gives them a fabulous opportunity to increase their share of wallet within millions of those offices and homes where they are connected any which ways. So if you look at it from that angle, you have somebody having a very robust and efficient setup here at his place, but also he's able to reach the cloud service provider that his company has subscribed to because of the small change that we are about to bring about, and that too in such a place that I mean, we are across 4 metros, and we've got 5 points of presence in Bombay, and hopefully a couple of them more in the near future. And imagine having full scale redundancy. It's not dependent. My cloud exchange will be dependent on one particular property per se, and customers can have a choice of anywhere to anywhere, and there is redundancy built on that as well. So just imagine the kind of comfort and convenience that we would be offering to the customers. At the same time, since this is something where fortunately it's not commodity, that it's a very dear thing to me, but internet is today become commodity, and the service that we would provide eventually doesn't become a commodity, and there is a service where you would give the customer access to any one of those 4 cloud service providers as of today, as a result of which he'll have better efficiencies to offer to his customers and have a larger share of wallet, which has always been a challenge in this business. And while I wouldn't want to lay down the entire mathematics of it, but my team would be more than happy to get into one-to-one discussion with people which they are already in, and put some light on it. So having said that, unfortunately, we are all passionate about our topics, and I just lost track of time. We are just 5 minutes short of, yes, 7 minutes short of time. But I would quickly have a 5-10 minute kind of a Q&A session happening, and then we will probably disperse. We'll let you go back to your busy schedules. आज आपका half day हुआ है, बाकी का half day बाकी है, So, so if we could have a little bit of a video played, I'll just look into what is it that we can have to be asked to the panel. So Mehul, there's a question from Saika Chakravarti saying, is GPON the latest technology, or is there anything else that he can explore in terms of adoption of new workplace for himself?
So GPON, I would say is, fairly the latest technology. And of course, we have XGPON and NGPON coming up. But at this moment, with GPON, you can easily deliver a 1 Gbps connectivity to a home. Maybe that's how they call it, fiber to the home or future to the home. Maybe you can call it that way. So GPON currently is sufficient to meet the requirements. As and when we start and getting more bandwidth in the application, probably moving to the next standard XGPON and then subsequently NGPON would make sense. These are last mile standards. So you'll obviously have different in transmission, and what the kind of protocols used in data centers would be different. These are for last mile. So GPON is the latest for last mile.
Yeah. So Naveen says that there are less than 3 million households in India currently on an FTTH platform. That's the whole endeavor of getting into these kind of interactions and figuring out ways and means to have the right kind of investments being made available, right kinds of solutions being offered to the ISP industry, so that the strategic investments that we expect them to make happen. And like for example, and as Sanjay rightly put it, about 80 to 90%. If he doesn't have enterprise customers to be served, he would be probably optimizing on 90% of his cost by appearing with the internet exchanges. As a result of which, there is a lot of money that he's left with, which he can invest in his business to make it more robust, more reliable, and more future ready. So I guess I've answered his question in the balance part, because the earlier part got covered in our discussion. And by virtue of just having 3 minutes of time, I would just want to, quickly, before I let you guys go, make a small, vote of thanks again. While for the rest of the folks who have been sending in answers, we'll try to ensure that we send across our replies via email or any other modes of communication that we can. And again, big thank you to both of y'all. It has been a fantastic evening. I have thoroughly enjoyed having you both. And I know how busy you guys are. Getting you guys to have a 5-minute telephonic conversation is a challenge. And here I am hogging 1 hour from both of y'all. So before I let you go, I think, nothing is going to be same for us as humankind and as professionals and as personal human beings as well. This century has thrown a lot of challenges on us, and this challenge that has come to us on a global platform, I think, has been unprecedented. And I feel that together, like how we've shown in a collaborative manner, जब हम मुट्ठी बन के काम करेंगे, तो I'm sure that we will be able to serve both the sides of, not only the customer but also the community as well. And we would be able to help and see that people are able to transform their businesses and unleash something which I would want to see as the golden age. Because if there has been a drop, there is always going to be a curve. And when there is going to be a up curve, who are the guys who were there with you when the up curve happened? I am sure we would be one of those people who would always be remembered from, people being contribution, from a contribution point of view. So the current global crisis will change life for sure. But I think we'll also see a digital unlocking that people like you and me would enable the industry to do. What value that digital unlocking will bring will be something unprecedented. I'm sure we'll be a part of, small part, if not big, of history that we would create in terms of serving the ecosystem and ensuring that things are up and running for both enterprises and people in general. Thanks a lot for your time. It has been a great evening, and I wish you all the very best. Stay safe.
Pleasure.
Stay
Thank you,
safe.
Sudhir.
Namaste once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Liman, Mr. Sampat, Mr. Kunder, for an extremely insightful session with some great knowledge sharing. I hope all of you enjoyed that. I'm sure our audience had some interesting takeaways from it as well. To end things this evening, we at SCAT India Show would once again like to thank our partner DE-CIX India. They have been big supporters to the show over the years and are definitely a big part of the success of the SCAT India Show. Thank you all for logging in today. Follow us on all social media handles for more updates on the show and our forthcoming webinars. Stay safe and take care. Thank you and have a good evening.